Just absolutely pathetic by the Washington Commanders today. Jayden Daniels very likely out for the season. Complete malpractice, in my opinion, by the Commanders and the coaching staff today. Keeping him in there when it's 38-7. The team is getting absolutely obliterated with 8 minutes left in the fourth quarter, and your offensive line is allowing the highest pressure rate of Jayden Daniels' career, and you still keep him in. Let's talk about it in today's video. If you guys are new, do all that good stuff, subscribe, hit that like button, notification bell as well for a fellow, sad Commanders fan after this game. I'm not going to talk about the game. Maybe I'll make a separate video about that. I just want to talk about Jayden Daniels because this absolutely sucks. I'm going to be looking at my phone throughout the video just to see any updates. But we saw what happened. I saw the replay once. For some reason, I thought it was a leg injury, just the way he was moving it. But then after you see the replay, the one time I saw it, you see the arm got pinned or whatever. It's either a broken arm, dislocated elbow, whatever it is. Jayden Daniels out for the year. This season's over. It's been over. I've had people tell me, season's not over. Don't give up on the season yet. Don't be happy when, the Commanders are in the playoffs and you were saying that it was over week 8, week 9, whatever. Well, now it's over, and I hope you guys all understand that and, understand that the rest of the season is about selling, getting as many assets as possible over these next couple of days. And then also it's about getting your young players developed. But Jayden Daniels very likely out for the year. Cart came out for Jayden Daniels, and there's no other way to say it besides that this season has been an absolute disaster for the Commanders. And the fact that Dan Quinn had Jayden Daniels out there today at that point of the game was just absolutely pathetic. And just everything that happened in this game, and the way the defense played, and all the decision making too that Dan Quinn made, it just was awful. And it doesn't help when your offensive line is allowing a 55% pressure rate, and you have Luke McCaffrey out, Terry McLaurin out, Deebo Samuel hurt, still playing, Noah Brown is even on the team, and you have Chris Moore, Jalen Lane, and Treylon Burks as your top 3 receivers. And guess what? You decide to keep Jayden Daniels out there. I really, really hope the media grills him, Dan Quinn. I know they might not, and that's fine, whatever, but he deserves to get grilled. He's the reason why this injury happened. Jayden Daniels should not have been in the game. I highly disagree with anyone that thought he should have been in the game. I was kind of checked out, so I wasn't really paying attention to the fact they should have taken him out. I'm not gonna lie, I was doing assignments, I was watching the game, but still, the fact that he was still in there, and it's just absolutely brutal, and it sucks for Jayden, man. So many injuries this year, and you have the hamstring, you have the knee injury, now you have this. It's really, really unfortunate. And, the injury talk, the RG3 talk is going to keep happening, and I don't think it's true, but, at least the RG3 part of it, but it's going to keep happening. So the season's over. Rest up JD5 until the last, part of the season, just, until the rest of the season, until next year, get fully healed up and good to go. And hopefully we can get a top 5 pick to either get him a defensive end, get him an actual defense, or, get him a top receiver that can really help him dominate, because right now it's looking ugly on both sides of the ball. This game was absolutely pathetic, and Dan Quinn, if Joe Witt is employed tomorrow, let's get serious. I think, conversations need to be had about Dan Quinn. I was saying this before the Joe Witt, or before the Jayden Daniels injury, but in terms of my feelings about Dan Quinn, I was saying, if Joe Witt is still here tomorrow, I am very, very low and almost out on Dan Quinn, because there's no reason that guy should be, on a coaching staff, in the NFL, and definitely not at a defensive coordinator. Whatever, if you want assistant or position coach, whatever, but a defensive coordinator, he's not a defensive coordinator, at least not this point in his career. And Jayden out for the season, and it's going to be Marcus Mariota and yeah, it's going to be Marcus Mariota the rest of the season. This season is lost. I mean, there's really nothing to watch the rest of the way, and it's going to really, really be all about developing as many young guys as possible. Jalen Lane, Luke McCaffrey, but I heard he broke his clavicle or fractured that, so he might be out for the year. I mean, Ben Sinnott, all these guys. Unload every asset you have. Lattimore, I think he tore his ACL or some major knee injury. But Bobby Wagner, Zach Ertz. I don't know about Brandon Coleman, but these guys, if you can get anything for them, Deebo Samuel, there's no reason to keep them guys. Andrew Wiley, apparently there was some trade interest for him. So if you can get something for these guys, go ahead and do it, because the Commanders aren't winning any games this year, meaningful games. They don't have a lot of draft picks, and this team sucks, man. This team sucks. It really is Jayden and everyone else. There's some good, pieces, but for the most part, this team is not good, and you need as many picks as possible to rebuild this mess. And we have so many things to talk about, but a conversation also needs to be had about Adam Peters, because he got lucky with the quarterback being, part of the reason he took the job is because they had the number 2 pick, right? So you get your choice of, Jayden, Drake, and other guys in a historic QB class. So that makes your job a lot easier when you get, hand-fed an elite quarterback. But the rest of the picks, it hasn't looked good so far. I'm not out on Adam Peters, but, I'm not as high, on him as I was a year ago and 6 months ago. It's definitely changed, and he needs to step up, and questions need to be answered by him on some of these decisions he's made, because it's not been good. The last year's draft class has not looked good. This year's draft class has not looked good either. Connolly's been struggling. Amos has been up and down. I mean, he's been good for most of the season, but still. And then Jalen Lane, I mean, he's a fellow Hokie, but it's not been good. And then, Bill has been, not so great the last few weeks, and Madrano hasn't played. I mean, obviously it's so early on this class and even the class before, so, jury's still out, but it's been a really, really, really bad start to the season for the Commanders. And a huge shout out to Sleeper. Make sure you guys check them out. There's a bunch of different sports you can make picks on, and also, you can play fantasy sports there, get your sports news on there. So the Commander season has been a disaster, but still got a lot of sporting events going on. Monday Night Football, Dallas Cowboys versus the Arizona Cardinals. So, that's a game where you can win real money making picks. So make sure you guys check them out. Use promo code Pedro on Sleeper and get a 100% match up to $100. Link in the description. Terms and conditions apply. All right, and again, a huge shout out to Sleeper. So let's talk about just what this means for the team and, Jayden Daniels. I'll talk a little bit about the injury. I still haven't seen the slow motion replay, but I heard it's really, really bad. After that, I was like, I'm not watching this game. I'll go ahead and make the video. But it is his left arm, I believe. So obviously it still sucks, but that's much better than his throwing arm, throwing hand, and makes the recovery and just long-term stuff overall a lot better, and the outlook makes it a lot better. But I just it sucks for him, man. It really does, because he's been through a lot of different injuries this season, and obviously that looks really, really bad, and it's going to be hard recovery for him. So I really, really hope he's going to be fine long term, and going to be the quarterback that we've had the last couple years, because even this season it's been good. This game wasn't his best, but when you're pressured 55% of the time, the snaps, it's not going to be good. It's not going to be good. And when you have JV receivers out there, it's not going to be good. So, he did his best today. It's just not a lot to work with. And at this point, it's best, even if he was healthy, that he wasn't playing. So this just kind of takes him out for the rest of the year. You reset, get a top, hopefully a top 5. I'm hoping a top 5 pick, but getting 3 wins or somewhat early makes it a little bit difficult to get that. But this team sucks. The injuries are really, really bad, and they keep coming, and they're going to be sellers at the deadline, and the schedule is hard. So I could see them maybe only getting to 5 wins for the rest of the year, because Mariota might be able to pull a hat out of his hat or something and make something work and get them a win or 2. But they get 5 wins, they'll get a top 5, top 6 pick, and be in a really good spot in terms of getting someone that can hopefully help Jayden Daniels and this Commanders team get to the next level. But we're going to have conversations this week about 3 people: Dan Quinn, Joe Witt, and Adam Peters. I actually scratched out on Joe Witt. No need to have a conversation about him. It's, he should be gone. If he's not gone tomorrow, I think honestly Dan Quinn, conversations need to be had about him. I've definitely soured on Dan Quinn over the last few weeks, just decision making he's had. And it's like you're at the 3. This is just an example. I forgot exactly what yard line they're on, but it's like 3 yards. The Seahawks are 3 yards out. They're scoring regardless. You have 12 men on the field, and you call a timeout. And the game is over regardless, but you call a timeout to save 1 yard. Save 1 yard. You call a timeout. That's just so stupid. That's so stupid. Objectively a bad decision. There's no your defense sucks. They're allowing a touchdown regardless, and you're only gaining 1 yard by calling that timeout. Because it's half the distance to the goal. Take that penalty and save the timeout for later. Again, the game did not matter at that point, but just simple decisions like that makes absolutely zero sense. Absolutely zero sense. So that's my take on the situation. I'm not saying to fire Dan Quinn. I'm not saying to fire Adam Peters. Not yet. I need to hear what they have to say. I want to see how they handle the rest of the season. Obviously, there's no need to fire Dan Quinn now. If it happens, it happens at the end of the season. Again, I'm not saying it should happen, but Joe Witt, I think that could happen. But should happen. But if you're trying to tank at this point, having Joe Witt out there will definitely help you accomplish that. So that's going to be it for the video. No post-game reaction because there's none needed, man. Jayden Daniels out for the year. Dan Quinn, hopefully, the media presses him about his decision with our franchise quarterback. So thanks for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed. Peace.